Okay, I think we are live. We are live, and I'm so happy to be here with you guys to sit in the space that is this Sagittarius full moon energy. I don't always do videos and practices for astrological events, but I do love to follow the moon and the sun in this basic yet powerful framework. We're going to talk a little bit about frameworks today. This framework that is the zodiac. This framework, this, shall we call it a mental construct, that is the zodiac that us humans have created based off of our observations of the world and how we get to be in relationship to life, to this world. We get to be in relationship to self. We get to be in action out in the world. It's this sort of thing that is captured in the zodiac along with much, much, much more. And I find it to be a useful framework, especially as it comes to certain signs. And as we are here with the moon, I'm recording this live for us today. I like doing these lives. I could sit down here and record this like I often do, which is just me sitting here recording a video for you and then posting that. And I like to do that. But I love being able to offer these as lives so that they're a little bit more like the circles that I hold, where it gives you an opportunity to show up, to be in practice with me, to join in conversation in the chat. So an invitation there, if you're watching the replay, to join me in live. I know people come in and out, so I'll be speaking to the live event from time to time as we go through this, sort of giving some direction there. But whether you're here live watching the replay, I'm so happy to be here with you. Again today, to be here in this energy that is the Sagittarius full moon, but more than that, speaking to the zodiac, what we're really here to work with today is a sort of axis where you have the zodiac, which is, you can think of as a sort of whole wheel, right? With this kind of linear axis through it, different, maybe you can think of it as poles, a sort of polarity here, where we have Sagittarius on one side, that is the moon about to reach her fullest expression, which will happen on Wednesday. I'm recording this on Tuesday. On the other end of that pole, we have Gemini. Gemini, that's where our sun is. So the sun is in Gemini. It's there for the whole month. I did a video for the new moon in Gemini, right, to sort of speak to the whole of Gemini season. So you can, if you want more on Gemini, sort of this mind and body relationship, we will be talking more about it in this video, but most importantly, we're going to be in practice with it in this video here, in this time today. So this axis where we have Gemini in the sun on one side, and we have Sagittarius, the moon, on the other side. And it's a full moon because they're lighting up so that the sun can shine its full light over on the moon. And you can kind of feel into what that means for you. What I love about working with the moon, as opposed to other astrologies, is that the moon creates more of a tangible effect, right? We can speak to astrology and we can play the game of like, does the astrology, right, what's happening in the stars, have any sort of causal effect on your body? Or is it more just a mental construct that we can play in? And I love this question. I love this question as we're sitting here in this Gemini and Sagittarius polarity, because that is the polarity. With Gemini, Gemini being the mind, Gemini being how our mind interacts with the world. So astrology being a construct, a mental construct that allows us to interact with the world. And the power there, and also maybe feeling into this one, is there some sort of causal, direct physical effect of what's happening in the stars on your life, right? That's sort of another end of astrology that I'm not asking you to believe, but you can kind of lean into it and sort of play for yourself. To what degree is that true? So again, if you're just joining, welcome. We're just playing here a little bit today. We get to be in practice today. So I'm going to bring you different practices as I sort of share different aspects of this astrology. But so again, going back to this sort of spectrum, like to what degree is life lived through your mind in these mental constructs we create? We create these mental constructs given the information we receive in the world, the way we make sense of it, the way we try to make meaning out of it, and then the way we try to act in alignment with those constructs, right? This is very Gemini-like, which again is one pole that the sun is holding down right now. Then this other pole, this Sagittarius embodied, action-oriented state. So feeling into this side, right? Feeling into what I speak to so often, right? This getting out of your head, forgetting all that you know about the world, all that you think, all that you believe, getting that out of the way and being present in reality as you are moved through it all. The Sagittarius, right? And if you know this about me, maybe you do or don't, but one of the reasons I love Sagittarius is because I'm not only a Sagittarius, right? My sun is in Sagittarius, along with my north node, along with my moon, along with my rising and 3 planets. It's like the skies, right? The stars, the moon, the sun. It all aligned when I came into this world and made me a full-blooded Sagittarius. So I just get so lit up. I get so lit up whenever anything is happening in the sign of Sagittarius, especially when it's a full moon. So feeling into this again, right? The way the world sort of just moves you. It's not about you, your mind, trying to make sense of it, formulate a plan and take action from there. But getting that out of the way as you yourself are sort of moved by the world. But that's not quite there yet. That's not quite there yet. That feels more like a water sign to me. This is fire, right? Sagittarius is a fire sign. So maybe you lean a little bit more this way. How do you move through the world? How do you move yourself? Let's see where my hand, it's like from heart, from soul. I sort of named this video. This is soul fire. Sagittarius is not about being moved from your head. It is about you moving yourself from soul, heart and soul. So I love embodiment work, right? Because embodiment work, if we're talking about a sort of framework, that is embodiment work. Well, the framework isn't a mental construct. It is you yourself. You yourself embodied as the being that you are. So again, this sort of polarity we're working with. Can you be moved by your mind in all your planning, in all your sort of willpower to make yourself stick to that plan? Or are you moved from somewhere deeper? Are you moved from somewhere deeper? Can you let yourself be moved from somewhere deeper? And we're going to into a more formal sort of practice. Again, if you're just joining here, you might be joining in the middle of a conversation. We're going to shift into practice here. So if you've done practice with me before, you know there's a way that I like to do this. An embodiment practice, this practice that has us dropping out of our head and down deeper into self. And calling upon your breath to help you do this. So we can breathe, right? There's so much talk about breath work today and like the power of your breath. And it's amazing. I love it because your breath is incredible. But I use it in a very specific way, particularly in this practice. So you can breathe in sort of a specific fancy pattern. That's not what we're doing here. What we're doing is using a breath to guide you down into yourself, to help you get out of the world of thinking and speaking and drop down deeper into self, this embodiment practice. So I like to start by kind of feeling my feet on the floor, my seat in the chair, really feeling that connection into ground, the physical ground holding you. As you start to breathe down into self, breathing into the three-dimensional expansion of your rib cage. Maybe with your next breath, breathing down a little bit deeper, down into your abdomen. Just a few moments here to breathe down into your chest, your rib cage, your heart. Breathe down into your belly, your abdomen. These grounding breaths. Just get us started here. Just get us started here in this practice, these deep grounding breaths into self. And we're going to continue this practice, continuing those deep grounding breaths into self. And, as we keep moving through this practice, just a reminder, if you find yourself getting distracted, kind of taken away, or maybe taken into some more fully mental realm, your breath is your guide here. It's your companion to take those breaths, breathe this grounding breath back into self, bring yourself more fully into this embodied, grounded, centered space. And then from the space, we get to play. From the space, we get to play in this axis, this polarity that is this Gemini Sagittarius sort of polarity. And if you know anything about polarities, right, this is one of my favorite things to teach because we live in such an either or world. Right? Our minds have been, shall we say, programmed within the sort of either or thinking. Like, is Gemini or Sagittarius a better way of being in the world? Is it this or that? What we're doing here in embodiment work is moving beyond either or thinking into both and. So we get to embody both Gemini and Sagittarius. And we can call upon astrology, right? What's happening with the sun and the moon, feeling into them because they are physical aspects of this world. They're not mental constructs, right? We can feel into the sun, we can feel into the moon, and we can hold the energy of both of them. So we can feel into the sun in Gemini, we can feel into the moon in Sagittarius, and we can hold the both and. Again, as we're playing here, right, we're going to start with one. We're going to kind of lean in towards one. We're going to kind of lean in towards another. So I'm calling in this energy that is Gemini, the mind. The sun in Gemini, this big, powerful, light-filled expression of Gemini. Gemini being the mind, your ability to think, to take in information from the world, to hold it in your mind as you process it, as you make sense of it, as you formulate plans, and as you call upon these plans to make a decision and take action. Okay, we have all these problems in our world right now. We have all these challenges, all these big, wild challenges we are facing right now. I don't have to go deep into this, but we are in big times, right? We're in big times right now. And I can tell you that a significant reason we are in the wild, dark, disastrous problems that we are is because people cannot think for themselves. People cannot use their senses to see the world for what is right there, to think about it, to process that information, to think for yourself what is real, what is true, to make decisions from there. So it's feeling into this as one way of being in the world and letting that sun, that powerful sun in Gemini, maybe light this up a little bit more. Maybe as you take those deep grounding breaths into self, embodied in self, embodied as the whole being that you are, this physical being that you are. Maybe you bring some of that attention, your consciousness into your mind. This beautiful, brilliant mind that you have. And maybe you allow the sun in Gemini to light it up a little bit more fully, or a lot more fully. Maybe you really lean into this practice. Because holding space for this ability to skillfully think, to analyze, to process, to form skillful judgments that help you create plans, create better understandings of the world that we are in, that you are in. This is Gemini, and it's important. It is an important skill to be able to do this. And as we walk through life with our head atop our shoulders, we get to continue to work on this. But today we have this full moon in Sagittarius energy. And now I want us to sort of lean more fully this way. A little bit of a story to sort of get us into this. I have a south node in Gemini. Maybe you know about south nodes and north nodes, maybe you don't, but just a quick moment to sort of teach this point. We all have a south node and a north node, right? And I like to think of our south node as sort of our karma. This is what we come into the world with. Our north node is sort of our dharma. That's what we are being guided towards in our life. That's what we're here to learn and apply in this life. And as we do this, as we move along the south node to north node axis, we find this soul fulfilling path. We find our purpose. So I have a south node in Gemini and I have a north node in Sagittarius, which is one of the reasons this axis is so much fun to work in. Because Gemini being my south node, this is what I came into the world with. This is what I naturally do. I don't really have to work that hard when we're speaking to Gemini because this is the wiring I was born with. I came into this world wired with a mind that has this ability to think, to process information at a really large level. And this is a path that led me into science and engineering. right? And this is, maybe I'll say, so powerful that I actually went into study neuroscience. This is how much I love the mind, is that I wanted to study it. I wanted to go get my PhD, become a researcher in academia as I studied neuroscience. And I got partway there. I was working on my master's in a neurotrauma lab. I was working with stem cells, neural stem cells, and I was in this space, and I found it deeply unfulfilling. As much as it was easy for me to take in information, to process information in this very academic way, to understand the world in this very mental way, I found that it wasn't fulfilling. More than that, as I was trying to make use of it in the world, I found that I couldn't. It was like I was trying to take this great wealth of information that I had cultivated over my 2 decades, sorry, 2 decades as a student, after all my years as a researcher, as a bioengineer, and try to apply it in a meaningful way. And I just couldn't. It's like I couldn't find the path linking the mind to useful, meaningful reality. There's a disconnect there. So I left that world and I went on a whole journey, right? I went on this whole wild journey. And I talk to this all the time. I'm not going to speak to it here. What this journey taught me, right? It's kind of leaving behind my karma and moving into Dharma, right? This south node to north node shift, this shift into Sagittarius, this shift into getting out of my head and being in reality and taking action from there. So leaning more fully into here, I'm going to shift this story more fully into practice here. This Sagittarius, right? Sagittarius, the sign of Sagittarius is a fire arrow. It's an arrow that is shooting through the ethers, right? This fire in action. What's not often talked about is that this arrow shot by a bow, which is a centaur, a man embodied as a horse, and feeling into this, and this is something I had to learn. This is something I had to learn as a Gemini South node, totally stuck up in my head in the world of information. Feeling into this horse body, 4 hooves, this big muscled body grounded upon the earth. And from this grounded, strong, stable stance, wielding that bow that you then shoot through the air, this fire arrow, now being in action, moving through the ethers. This is Sagittarius. So again, leaning into this, right? We're leaning away from Gemini. So it's that like getting your head out of the way. As you lean into action, you are here embodied, grounded, centered, wielding that bow and arrow as you shoot it off into the ethers. Now you're in motion. You are physically present in motion as you move through those ethers, as you move through life. Just kind of feeling into the difference there. Just kind of feeling into where we can go from here. Feeling into where we can go from here in this practice in a way that serves. So we have a long list of problems in our world, right? As I speak to, I'm trained as an engineer. So I like to kind of come to this space or any space I'm in this sort of like problem solution way of thinking. And so often I like to think about the most significant challenges we are facing in this world. And I say that, and given the state of our worlds, the list is long. There are a number of them that are loud in our faces right now in a way that is scary, in a way that I'm saying this and it's like the fire's starting to build within me, right? This something has to give. Something has to change because the way things are building right now is not okay. What's happening in our world right now is not okay. And what's happening in our world is demanding a shift. And it's not a little shift, right? It's not a little shift. It's a massive, groundbreaking shift on the part of humanity. We can speak to this as a waking up. We can speak to this as a shift in consciousness. Whatever words, phrases we want to put there. These aren't the type of problems that we sort of put into isolation and fix one by one so that we can then go back to the old lives we were living. These are the sort of problems that are unfolding the greater and greater and greater magnitude because our world is ready for a fundamental shift. And that shift is one that happens within each of us. And as it happens within each of us, then how we act, how we are in the world transforms the world as a whole. This is the core of what we're doing here. This is the core of what we're doing here. We're doing the inner work that is necessary, shall I say, that is being demanded of ourselves as a collective humanity right now, so that we can be in the world in a different way. The ripple effect there. Right? This is how we change the world. And feeling into, again, right, how we can do this by, shall I say, upgrading, enhancing, improving our mental capacities, our ability to sense, to see, to hear, to read about, right? All these ways we take in information from the world, make sense of it, and take action from that space. Okay, and this is Gemini. This is one end of the pole. Doing that in connection to this grounded, heart and soul-centered movement, this direction, this fire that is moving us in the direction we best be headed. Again, holding space for the fact that this isn't an either or. I remember growing up and there was this polarity. Do you trust your head or do you trust your heart? And I can recall, many, many stories in my life about trusting either my head or either my heart and being completely misled down paths that I should not have been heading down. What I've learned right now, what I teach is the embodied path. Because when you live in duality, when you live in either or, oh, it's what my head is telling me, or it's what my heart is telling me, that's often not going to be a skillful way of being that actually leads you in the direction you best be headed. There's this, sort of middle path. It might come from Zen. I once had a retreat at a Zen, I think it was a Zen Buddhist meditation center in New York, rural New York, the state of New York, and the path that we walked every day was called the middle path, and I loved how beautiful it is. So when I say the middle path, I just visualize this beautiful path winding through the most green, luscious fields. There's this idea of the middle path, right? The path that we take when we're able to hold space for all of it. And what this requires is a slowing down, sort of disengaging from that chaotic, fast-moving wheel that life has us caught up in. But if you can do what I teach, right, this practice that is grounding into self, coming back into self, your body breathing, grounded, rooted upon this earth, this is when we become able of putting this all into action. This is when we can hold the both and. This is when we can hold space. Okay, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm thinking. This is what my head is telling me. This is what logic is telling me. This is what reason is telling me. And then I can maybe slow down a little bit more. This is what heart is telling me. This is what soul is telling me. And then from this space, right, the rubber is about to meet the road. This decision needs to be made. Action needs to be taken. From this space, what do you do? Where do you go? How do you act? And there is no formula here. There is no best way of doing this. There is no ideal way of doing this. The way you do this is by doing it over and over and over again, making decisions, taking action, guiding yourself, right? Again, this fire, feeling into this Sagittarius fire, this fire within self that moves you. This is a fire that is your sovereign fire. This is you. And again, I spoke to this earlier today. Sagittarius is not a water sign. Water signs are very much more, so let me be moved by the flow of the world. That's not what this is. This is Sagittarius fire. This is you, yourself, your fire moving you through the world. Doing it with your head, your mind, atop your shoulders, connected into heart, connected deeper. Sometimes I feel soul. It's like you can go into your heart down deeper into self and being moved from there. We can talk about this as alignment, right? In embodiment work, like to use, call upon your body in alignment, right? That again, head on top of heart, on top of those deeper parts of self, being moved from this space. And as we're moved from this grounded, connected space in alignment with all parts of self, this is where we develop that skill to move through life with intention, with increasing skill. And this is how we do the big work that is healing this great mess of things on planet Earth. This is how we get intentional and skillful when it comes to doing that big problem solving that needs to be done. Doing it in a way that is grounded, again, connected into heart, connected into soul, connected to the whole web of life. This is how we do that work. All right, guys, if you haven't yet, throw a comment in the chat. Let me know what's going on for you. over there? What's resonating for you? What's loud for you? Maybe what's being pinged for you as a practice for you to deepen into. Maybe you can put a comment in there, like what's louder for you? Are you really good at what we might call this more Gemini space, this thinking, planning, analyzing, taking action from there? Maybe you're better at this being present in the moment, moving yourself with skill based off of that deeper knowing. More like letting your heart, your soul move you through this world. I wrote this down in my notes earlier. This Gemini, what I think is best. What do I think is best to do? Taking action from there. This Sagittarius, what I know is best as it is being experienced here and now. Maybe that's sort of helpful to help frame this polarity. Once again, there's another video I made, so if you want more, you can look back a couple videos. I made a whole video on Gemini season. That one I focused more on sort of the ability to formulate a plan, to think, to process, to make a decision, to plan out, and then stepping into action, stepping into that space where it's like, okay, now it's time to actually do the thing. Now in this space, to what degree do you stick to that plan that you formulated in your head, right? This Gemini way of being. And to what degree do you sort of let that go and take action based on what's here right now? We're starting to close down now. We're starting to close down. There's so many more places we could go to play in Sagittarius energy. The adventurous spirit of Sagittarius, something that's so big and so loud in my life right now. Kind of thought we might be heading in that direction today, but it's not where we went. That's okay. I have a whole blog post coming out on this tomorrow. So if you're watching this on the 11th or after the full moon, that blog post will be out. So you can check out my Substack for that. Make sure you're on the newsletter so you're getting all that information. If you want to do more of this, if you want to do this with me in practice with a group of people, being in practice, co-creating, weaving together, check out our circles. We've got 3 circles going on a month at this point to be in the sort of embodiment practice. You can learn more about that at upwardslopes.com/circle. Okay, I'm going to close down for today. Whether you were here for just a few minutes on the live, whether you're here watching the whole thing live or on the replay, I thank you so much for spending time with me in this space. Again, leave a comment. Let me know that you're there. Let me know what's being pinged for you. Of course, as always, make sure you hit that like button. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications so you know when I'm going live or when I post a new video. Make sure you're subscribed to the Mountain Mystic newsletter. Check out upwardslopes.com to do that. Okay. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today in this space, and I look forward to catching you next time.